All right, soccer fans all over the globe. Yes, you'll recognize us from American soccer break, but we are coming to you international soccer break. So, as everyone needs to remember, soccer is a global game and we're global soccer fans. That's just the truth.
Yeah, and there's no tournament like the World Cup, the greatest sporting event in the world. This is what it's really all about. So let's get into it.
Yeah, but it's not just the World Cup. There's also Euros, there's continental championships, there's all kinds of global soccer going on with national teams playing, and that's what we're going to cover. So we're going to start off today by breaking down each of our top 7 teams as it is today. So let's get into it. We'll start off with my number 7 is Italy. You may have recognized them from the last World Cup. Oh wait, they weren't there.
Or the
But
one
they
before that.
Fair, but they did win Euro in between, and they just finished third at the UEFA Nations League. So look, I was debating, Netherlands could have made this, Portugal could have made this, but I think Italy, just based on the performance in the last third place game and sort of how they've played in the last Nations League campaign, I think that they deserve this spot, and I'm putting them at 7.
Yeah, I don't think Italy deserves to be here. I think they haven't been in the past 2 World Cups. They haven't shown enough for me. Yes, the Euro win, but for me, it's Portugal. And this is a tough one. I could have gone Germany, could have gone the Netherlands, as you said. Germany, recent results haven't been good. And Portugal, for me, it's a good tournament team. They have some problems in terms of age. Ronaldo's going to be way too old moving forward, but they have some youth, right? João Felix, they have Rafael Leao. This is a team that I think has shown consistently they're going to be in the later stages of tournaments. For me, it's Portugal simply on tournament experience and the fact that they continue to show that they can get to later stages.
Yeah, Roberto Martinez is a good addition for them as well. So number 6, you might be surprised to see this team here, but for me, it's Brazil. Okay, now look, if this was 6 months ago during the World Cup, I would have put this team a lot higher. But since then, we just recently saw last week, they lost to Senegal. And the goals they allowed were super easy. I think their problem is at the back. Now, does Carlo Ancelotti change this? Perhaps. Perhaps he makes it a lot stronger team, because as of today, he ain't the coach yet.
Yep, I think you're right. And I have Brazil at 6 as well, and it's very low. It's strange to see them here, but this is where they belong. How many times have we said Brazil are pre-tournament favorites, and they just don't seem to deliver when it comes time? Quarterfinal to Belgium, World Cup before, quarterfinal to Croatia, this World Cup. Brazil hasn't shown enough that they're consistent, that they don't know how to defend a lead. For me, Brazil is a team that needs some calm, needs some collective spirit. Ancelotti might be the guy. We might be talking about a very, very different Brazil team soon. And that's next year, but not right now. Right now, they deserve to be here.
Yeah, they're perennial underachievers for the last few tournaments. Now let's go to a team that is perennial overachiever, and that would be Croatia. Now look, they just got second place. They just lost in penalties, but they were right there for the Nations League final. They were there for the last World Cup semifinals, and the World Cup before that were in the final. So this is a team that is consistently there. Kovacic, Modric, Brozovic, best midfield pairing in the world, I believe, and I don't think that's debatable, frankly. And they're just great.
Yeah, and you forgot Josko Vardiol, and you forgot Perisic. This team is very, very good, and we have to stop underestimating Croatia. We need to give them the flowers they deserve, because this team has come through in difficult knockout games over and over and over again. It's the mental strength of these guys. They're just built different. Second place World Cup, third place World Cup, second place Nations League. They got to win a tournament sometime. That's why they're here, but they deserve to be at number 5.
And they got a better goalie now than they've ever had before in Dominik Livakovic. So I think this team is just going to continue to churn out a team that's solid even after Modric retires, frankly.
Now, he's not retiring anytime soon.
He's not. He could keep playing until probably like 50. So let's go on to this team. Now, look, I don't know if you think this team should be this low. I think this is pretty high for an England national team historically. Because look, the golden generation, that's Lampard, Gerrard, and Scholes, that whole team, I think they underachieved. For the first time, England is actually not underachieving, in my opinion. They've made it to the Euro finals. They're breezing through qualifiers, frankly. A game they played last week against North Macedonia, they won 7-0. That maybe previously would have been a struggle for a half, and they'd come out 2-0.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. England's a good team, but hold on to them because I have them higher than this. And I think you're wrong about the golden generation. This is a more golden generation than that one. They've achieved more, so they belong higher than number 4. So at number 4, I don't have England. I have Spain. Spain coming off a big Nations League victory for them, where it was a pretty even final against Croatia. But in the end, they won on penalties, and that's important for this young team because they have fallen at that very stage in penalties in multiple recent World Cups, to Morocco, to Russia. This team is encouraging because they're so young. They're so young, and then they have some experience as well. A guy like Rodri in the midfield, but Gavi, how young is he? Ansu Fati, 20. I mean, and then the guys that are old, Jesus Navas looks like he's 18, so it doesn't even matter really. So this is either a young team or they look young, but effectively this is a Spanish team that is a striker away from being a world power. In the past, they had David Villa banging in goals, and that was the difference. They don't have that now, but if they can find some consistency up front, this is a team that will battle for World Cup titles.
Yeah, if only Morata was more consistent for them. But I'll tell you this. I think in a one-off game, and I have Spain at 3, a one-off game between Spain and England, I think Spain is the favorite. Now, look, Spain dominates possession against every team they play. They've dominated possessions for the last like 20 to 30 years in every single national team game that Spain's been out there for. So look, I think that now the modern game, yes, is less possession dependent. You have to be a little bit more clinical and so on and so forth. And the game moves very fast. But nevertheless, this team is always going to be super competitive. And I think a midfield of Gavi and Rodri dominates in England midfield, regardless of how good the players are at this day and age.
Yeah, I concede that England is not superior in the midfield, the center of midfield, but they're so good in all the other attacking areas. Wide, up front. This England team is the best I've ever seen because they are so dangerous. Think of Bukayo Saka. Then you're talking about the whole Manchester City contingent, who just, by the way, won a treble. And have we ever seen, this is an English team that won a treble with players, Jack Grealish, Kyle Walker, John Stones. John Stones has developed into a world-class defensive midfielder. Yeah. What are we talking about? I've never seen an English center back play that way. So this is a team that's doing things that no England team has done before. They have questions at manager. Yes, I concede. Gareth Southgate has shown he can bring the young kids to this level. Can he take them to the next level? I'm not so sure. But if this team does not win a major tournament, it's not because they're not talented enough.
Yeah, there were a few penalty kicks away from winning a major tournament. So that's that. Now going to number 2 is a team that did win a major tournament, but I have them at 2. Okay, why? Here you go. So how did Argentina win this World Cup? Well, they were pressing hard, and they had McAllister played fantastic, Messi played fantastic. Everything kind of went right for them from that perspective, and they played to their strengths. They knew they weren't going to dominate teams off the bat or anything like that. So the coach set them up in a fantastic position after the first game. He learned from that. But I think if they were to run it back, that game does not happen in the same way. I mean, the World Cup final. And that's why I have them at number 2 instead of number 1.
Yeah, I think you're doing a complete discredit to Argentina, what they've done in that tournament. We'll get to that in a second, because the team they played in the final and they beat in the final is France. That's who I have at number 2. They deserve to be at number 2. I don't disagree. They're a very talented team, France. Probably the most talented team in the world, but they're also the most erratic, inconsistent team in the world. In my opinion, this is a team that at times looks like they are untouchable and at times looks like they haven't met each other. I mean, this is a team that for 70 minutes in the World Cup final was utterly dominated by Argentina. And then, yes, some subs came in, the game changed. Mbappe started to play, Kingsley Coman, Cavaminga, Colomani. This is a team that suddenly transformed, and then they look like they're unstoppable. But how many times have we seen this France team and scratched our heads at the way they're playing? That's the problem, and there's always internal strife with this French team, right? They couldn't bring Benzema along because there was internal problems, politics. This is consistent throughout France, throughout the years. Remember domination, that whole thing? So this is France. This is what they are. And until they start to show consistency, they can't be number 1. And number 1 is reserved for the true World Cup winners. So we'll get to in a second.
Yeah, but look, I was talking about that game, same game that you're talking about, which of course just happens to be something called the World Cup final. And for 75 minutes of that game, yes, Argentina was dominant. But the team that currently plays for France today is the team that came in. He saw how Cavaminga played. So Cavaminga is playing, Kingsley Coman's playing. They completely transformed the game. And that's why I say if this team was on the field from the beginning of that game, it's a different outcome. And that's what I feel today. That's why I put France at number 1, because Deschamps learned from the mistakes he made in that game. And that's the team he's playing today.
Yeah, but you got to give the roses to Argentina. They're the World Cup winner. And you talked about a system. Yes, they played to their strengths, and they played very smart with defensive midfielders, then who gave the ball to Messi once it was won, and then he ran the show, right? But they did it very comfortably. Take a look back at that World Cup for a second. Saudi Arabia game aside, we're not going to talk about that. But moving forward after that game, they comfortably walked through the tournament. Look at the Netherlands game. Yes, extra time, penalties. but they were up 2-0 for 70 minutes. That's an
Yeah, it kind of helps
easy
when you get
win.
a penalty
And then
every single
Croatia.
game, though. Every
Yeah,
single
I
game you
mean,
get a penalty start
fair,
off
but they
with,
won all those penalties. And then Croatia 3-0, and then France, the very France team you have at number 1, they utterly dominated that team for the majority of that World Cup final, and they deserved to win the final. This is a team that, yes, played to their strengths, but those very same players you're talking about in the midfield, McAllister, he's only going to get better. Just got a big move, by the way. So this is a team that is going to improve. And by the way, Messi's not going anywhere, as far as we know.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll give you that, but let's see how they do come Commonwealth qualifiers, which is coming up. Anyway, always fun to talk about these topics. There's always rankings out there, and we'll have more top tens here and there. But look, international soccer, greatest thing on the planet, and it's the best.
Nothing like it.
We'll see you guys next time. We'll come to you with more stuff from the global game of soccer, and as always, keep watching the beautiful game.